fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Commander Class Optimus Prime from the Transformers Studio Series 86 line from Hasbro. I'm really excited for this one. This is one that I've been excited for a while. I didn't pre-order it right away. I don't know why. I just kind of thought, maybe it'll go on sale later or something, and I was actually lucky enough to be able to grab it from Target while they're doing that $20 off, 75 or more. So I was able to get this for around 70 bucks, which I was really excited about. Packaging is fantastic. So like with Commander classes we usually see, it's all closed up, but it gives us this beautiful artwork, recreating that scene from early on in the movie where he's kind of storming Autobot City. The big burst of flames. He flies into the air, transforms, takes out all the Decepticons. It's an amazing scene. If you haven't seen this movie, by the way, I don't know what you're doing. You definitely should have seen it by now. It's fantastic. Go watch it. But yeah, so you can see a couple of product shots over here. We have the truck mode. We have him in robot mode with the trailer opened up as like a little battle station. So that looks really fun. Up here again, they actually give you effect pieces so you can recreate the scene on the front of the box. I think that's so cool. Beautiful Transformers, the movie logo up here. Nice artwork of Optimus here on this side. Over on this side, kind of a close-up of that same artwork. Not really anything going on at the bottom, but if we spin it around to the back, get some product shots, shows the trailer open up with roller. Of course, we have the truck mode, the robot mode. Got to have that axe, because can't have the axe. Anyway, then we got this piece here connected to roller, which is neat. Again, the same shot from the front. He does come with a backdrop as well, which is going to be, looks like part of, actually, that might actually look like the Ark. I can't tell. I'll have to open that up and we'll see. But in any case, really excited for this one. It's supposed to be like the best Optimus they've ever done. I mean, when they first said, oh, we're giving you a Commander class Optimus, I was like, do we really need another Optimus? I was really happy with the Earthrise one. But this thing is supposed to be like pretty close to MP44, but on a budget. So we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited. I'm going to get everything out of the box and we're going to take a closer look. So here is Prime with the backdrop that's included. Of course, it is from that kind of iconic hallway of Autobot City when he is coming through and recreating the scene on the front of the box. I don't know why when it was really small in the box, I thought it might be the Ark. I think I saw this big hole here and thought it was one of the Ark's engines. It was a small picture, so of course it makes sense that it has to be from this iconic scene. And it's honestly huge. You could probably fit another whole character here. Let me see if I have anyone handy. I just have this guy, which doesn't really make sense, but just you can easily fit two characters in this scene. So I think it's an absolutely huge display, and I think that's kind of neat that you could definitely, even put him in vehicle mode and maybe have him flying up and getting ready to plow into somebody, something like that, whatever you want to do. But yeah, it's an absolutely huge backdrop and it looks really good. So here he is in all his glory, Commander Class, Studio Series 86, Optimus Prime. He's pretty phenomenal. Mine has a few little QC issues. Unfortunately, this smokestack is ridiculously loose, and I don't know why they really have to move it all. I guess just in case there's a clearance issue. Also, unfortunately, the first time I transformed it, it really scraped the paint off this little section here. And mine does have the misassembled heels, which is kind of a bummer. Now, if you're much handier than I am, you can actually pop the pin out and then switch these because they're supposed to be rotated 180 degrees and switched. I'm not handy enough to do that, so I won't be doing that. But the nice thing is it's really not too much of an inconvenience. I mean, it still transforms perfectly fine. It's just aesthetically a little weird in both modes, but not enough for me to figure out how to pop the pins out. But that is a shame. But overall, I mean, he really looks sharp. I like him quite a bit. That head sculpt, I think, is absolutely phenomenal. I kind of like how they went with kind of the matte finish for the gray there on the face. The blue eyes really pop. The crest looks good. The ears. You have a little bit of paint here on these lights. I mean, the metallic here on the windows looks amazing. I'm so glad they didn't go with translucent windows. All of the gray paint here. The silver. The yellow. I'm so happy that the thighs and this crotch area are actually white and not gray. Although hopefully that won't yellow over time. We have some silver here, a little bit of gray here on the toes. Just all in all, he looks really, really good. Has a little bit of a backpack, but honestly, I can forgive it. It's not that bad, and it compresses as tightly as possible, so it's really not that big a deal. He's got a little port here if you have a display stand or something you want to use, which is really cool. Just all in all, He's a really good looking figure. The Autobot symbol here on the shoulder looks pretty good. So I don't even know where to start with this guy. I guess we'll do articulation first, and then I'll get into all his accessories. There's a lot going on with this guy. So head is on a ball joint. You can get a little bit of up and down. Certainly spin side to side, no problem. A little bit of tilt side to side. You have a swivel and a hinge here in the shoulder, so you can get real nice range of motion there. Bicep swivel, elbow, pretty much 90 degrees. You have a wrist swivel. You have these fingers here, so let me show you how this works, because this is pretty cool. So I believe the back three are on one joint. They're all together, but they do have a middle joint here, and then the pointer finger is on its own. So if you want to do like a pointing pose, you know, have him pointing, you can definitely do that. Otherwise, you know, you can make him make a fist. He can hold his weapons, no problem. You can kind of, like when you transform them, you kind of tuck these in as tight as they'll go, but you can make a fist for punching. And then, of course, you can do kind of just like a standard. They're a little hard to manipulate only sometimes because you can get, especially with the pointer finger, with the thumb in the way, it's kind of hard to get access to it, but see if I can just kind of bend these into like a kind of normal grasping hand. So you got a lot of stuff going on. Really nice articulation there in the hands. You got a waist swivel. You have some flaps here on both the back, so you can lift them out of the way, and the front, so you can lift them out of the way, and that gives you access to these really nice hip joints. First of all the way out to the side, no problem. Kick really far forward. If I move the flap up further, you can actually kick all the way back as well, so really nice range of motion there. You just have to move the flaps out of the way. Thigh swivel, of course. You have really nice range of motion there on the knee, and I like how they kind of built this down so it doesn't look like it's got a big hole or anything there, which is nice. You've got your ankle tilt. You might have to kind of like unclick it. You kind of unclick it there, and then you can move the ankle tilt pretty much 90 degrees with the ankle tilt there. You have a little bit of front to back as well with the toes, mostly for transformation, and the heels as well. You can move them back and forth a little bit. But yeah, just really great articulation, really looks solid. The backpack really doesn't get in the way of the articulation at all. So I think this guy is really, really nice. All right, let's get into, I'm going to do this one first because otherwise I'm going to forget about it. He, of course, does have the matrix. You can open up the chest. So these panels will flip open. And then you have this little gray section here that lifts up. And then you have like the same matrix that I think we've been getting since Earthrise. I don't think this is any different, but we'll take a look. Looks like it has light piping there. It's painted nicely, and he can hold it. You can kind of get these fingers grasping, you know. Let me close this back up. And because he's got a good amount of articulation, you can easily get the hands in here to grab hold of this. So let me do this. Well, you can tell it's not made for this, which is why the fingers kind of barely fit in here. But you can do it. Let me see if I get the other fingers to help. It's not perfect, but it can happen. I wish they would just make a new one. I mean, we've been using this same one for quite some time now. Can we just get a new one, maybe a little bit bigger? Because this looks so ridiculously small in comparison to him. I feel like this would have been the time to give us a new one. And they still were just like, no, we got this one we made 10 plus years ago. Just keep using that. I don't know if it's really been that long, but it feels like forever, doesn't it? I mean, it's been some time. And we've certainly gotten it with so many different primes over the years. But we'll pop this back in here. Just pegs right back in. No issue. Close it up. And I feel like the cavity is large enough that they could have made a bigger one as well. I feel like this would have been the time to spend that little bit of extra money. Really trick this guy out. But whatever. He's got the matrix. Let's move on. He's got a really nice blaster. Really nicely detailed. And the cool thing about this is it can actually peg in here on the side. So you have this tab right here. And it can go into this slot on the side here, and it can actually just peg right on here. If you'd like to store this on the back, I'm not doing this well at all. but somehow it stayed. There you go. So again, peg on the back there. I think that's cool. Of course, it can pop into the hand, no problem. You just have to make sure the fingers are out of the way, and then you can kind of push the fingers over top of it. But that looks good. Iconic blaster. Always nice. You do, of course, have some effect pieces for the blaster. You get 2 of these. They are exactly the same, but you can pop that onto the end. Looks a little small here for the blaster. I think it's supposed to be used with the little piece inside his trailer. I think that was the main intention, but it does work here. But I think it looks a little small and weird for his main blaster, but you do get 2 of them, so they'll come into play again later. And then, of course, because we can't get away from this, 10 seconds of screen time, symbol of the franchise, apparently. Mine's a little warped. I feel like mine's a little off, but you do have the Energon axe. Basically how this works, you're going to tuck the fingers in all the way. You're going to open up this side panel on the side of his forearm, and this is just going to rotate right in there and then close up, and then you're just going to use the tab there to attach this very simply. So, works well, no issues, looks fine. I almost feel like it's a little small. I almost feel like it should be a little longer and larger, but it's fine. It's just there chilling. I mean, he does have other accessories, but I think I'll save them for when we get to the trailer. This is what you would use in robot mode. But yeah, pretty cool. I think he looks great. I don't really care about this, but the gun looks great. Articulation's good. Paint applications are nice and sharp. I was worried about the backpack. It's really not too bad. So yeah, overall, with the exception of the few small QC issues that mine has, and honestly, even in spite of them, it's pretty great. So before we move on to the trailer, I just wanted to do some size comparisons, show them off with some friends. So first up here, we have Studio Series Ironhide, just so you can see about where he stacks up size comparison-wise. And also here is Studio Series Jazz. So you can see, you know, Deluxe over here, Voyager over here. He's Commander class. This thing keeps moving. I hate that. So Commander class, you know, probably... I'm trying to think if I have another leader. Not really handy like someone like Galvatron or somebody. But I would say he's probably about leader class. You know, he's definitely more complex and more tricked out than a traditional leader class. But I would say he's pretty much on par with like an actual leader class. I don't really. I'm trying to see if I have anything around handy I can grab. I don't really. But you know, like your Sandstorms, your Galvatrons, your true leader class figures, not like a Voyager with some stuff. An actual leader class figure, I would say he's probably about the size of an actual leader class. Maybe slightly taller, but he gets the Commander class from the trailer and everything else, plus just the level of complexity and detail. But yeah, he's good. I think he looks fantastic. And of course, we have to compare him to the previous gold standard Earthrise Optimus Prime. I still really like this figure. I think this was a great figure for a long time. I like the transformation. I think it looked good. But this is just like perfectly animation accurate. This looks like it jumped right out of the screen. This was a very good Optimus Prime. I still think it's a good toy. But I mean, if you're looking for like as cartoon accurate as possible, this is going to be your best bet. But, you know, this is still a good toy. I don't have anything against this guy. But I wanted to kind of show them side by side. He is, of course, a little bit bigger. And the colors are just a lot brighter over here. Whereas, you know, with Earthrise and Siege, everything was dingy and battle-worn. And so the colors are a lot more muted. But even, like, the legs over here, I think, look so much cleaner. I mean, the insides, you don't have that gray or anything like that. You know, very animation accurate. The wheels are hidden, which I think is a really nice touch over here. Of course, they were just hanging out over here. So, again, not a bad toy, but unfortunately, I think he has kind of been replaced. All right, so before we get into transformation, let's talk about the trailer a little bit. First off, looks amazing. You know, I think this color scheme looks amazing. The Autobot symbol there looks really sharp. You have the little stand that flips down here. And just to compare it to the Earthrise trailer, I can't believe how ridiculously small this feels. Now, we've had it for years. It's been a good trailer. It's served us well, but it feels so small. Like, even before I got this out of the box, I picked this up today off the shelf, and I was like, was this always this small? It just seems so tiny. You had the nice blue, which I think was, more of a throwback to the original toy, whereas I think this is more screen accurate. The Autobot symbol looks good, but just look how small that is in comparison. It's so tiny. I can't get over it. It doesn't even have the pieces on the inside like the balance pieces. So I just think it's funny how small that is. But again, it was good. It served us for many years. So you can just go ahead and pop the ramp down here, and it can actually fit. So if you have, little deluxe sized guys, not every single guy is going to fit, but your smaller guys should have no problem. And you can go pretty far back, and honestly, I think I could even fit Roller in here as well, or maybe a second. So you might even be able to fit two, depending on who you pop in there. If you have like Gears and Bumblebee, you could easily fit two in there, but just pops down, little Roller rolls out. We'll take a closer look at him in a moment. And let me get Gears back out of here. So I think that's really cool. I love when they can actually fit. And the thing is, if you want, you can take the stuff out, and this can be just completely empty. So you could actually, honestly, could you fit more? Like I said, depending on who you put in here, I think you could easily fit two. Maybe three if you got some really small guys, but probably two. But yeah, it's a really nice big size trailer. We'll close this back up for a moment. A couple of things that this can do that I think is really cool. So here, right below the ramp, this little section right here, you can see this little tab. If you can actually get this to open up, which sometimes can be a little difficult because I'm always afraid I'm going to break everything, but there we go. That unhooks, and then you have a little storage spot in here. And if you want, you could put your effect pieces. So we have these pieces that we haven't really taken a look at yet for the blast off effect. But you could store all of these in here, which I think is so cool. And then you just close this up, and there you go. You have a spot for those. Completely forgotten about, just beautifully stored away there. I think that's so cool. I am going to take them back out though, because we will need them later. So we'll come back to those. But that's so cool. You could put, whatever you want to fit in there, other people's accessories, things like that. These little pieces here will rotate out, and then this just rotates down. So we'll do that over here on both sides, and then that kind of gives us a better base. If you want to put this piece out as well, you can. You don't have to. So now we'll put the ramp down, and we'll actually open this up. So you can see that it is very empty inside, but we do have this little piece here. I don't know if this guy has an official name or not, but it does feel small for the trailer. When I put this in here, it connects to these two little spots right here, and it just seems tiny in comparison to the rest of the trailer. I guess I don't need it to be that huge, and that way you could keep it in here and still fit one or two deluxe cars. But it does feel very tiny. Now I know they did it so that it could also connect on top of Roller, so we'll take a look at that in a moment. But basically this can flip up. It doesn't spin like the original toy had just a wheel so that this could spin around 360. It doesn't do that, but I don't really think that was that impressive of a feature. Anyway, this can kind of disconnect, come around, extend out, swivel around. Then you've got a little grasper claw here, so you can open and close that. This actually can still open. So you have the little cockpit that was originally for Diaclone back in the day. Still represented here. I don't know what you'd fit in there. It's very small, but it does open. And then this can just completely extend out. So you have a nice extension there. You can really kind of make this thing pretty huge. And then like we saw on the packaging, if I want to connect this on here and then flip this up, something like this, and I apologize, it's not really in frame right now. Let me see what I can do. And then of course you can have, Prime stand in here like he's being repaired. You could have this kind of come down and work on him, do whatever you want. Not something that I usually care about, but they always show off that it can happen, so wanted to show it off that it can happen. Now, in the past, we've had times where you can actually close this up with this like still extended, whether it's at the top or whatever. That is not the case here. It is completely sealed all the way around. So if you want to close this up with him inside, you have to put it all the way back down. Fold this in. Let me take this off. You can pop it on roller. It has the 2 pegs right there. So boom. If you want a roller to drive this guy around, you can. Not that exciting to me, but roller looks pretty good. I'm used to him having the 2 bars out the back because that's how he connected into the trailer. Not the case here. So it is very kind of clear look. You can kind of see where they were, but I mean, they didn't actually cut them off, but they have just like it represented there, which I think is kind of cool. Rolls pretty well. Nicely painted in this beautiful silver. You should be able to... The box didn't really show this, but can I still attach his gun? Yeah, you can still attach it. So if you want to put his gun on top of there, you can do that. It's a little tight, but it does work. The other thing that I think is kind of cool, let me put this back around here, swivel this like this. And then you can see that there is a little tab slot and there's a tab so that this tabs against the body. You can see that there are 2 little spots here, and that is for roller to connect underneath. So roller actually kind of connects on like that. So whereas it used to have that piece for him to like, you know, butt up against and then kind of not really spring loaded him, but kind of pushed him out when you wanted it to. That's obviously been removed because that was kind of a original toy feature and they're going for animation accuracy here. But I did think it was neat that they did put a way to kind of attach him when he's in here. That way, if you don't want him rolling around while you're moving the trailer, he, you know, has a way to kind of stay put. And again, you could have all this in here. Let me close this up. And you could still fit gears inside. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty big trailer. So I appreciate that. All that stuff in there, and you can still fit at least 1 deluxe car in there, which is cool. The last little feature, I'm going to close these back up like so. Close this all back up. Close this. When you open this up, so we have these guys stored in here, but you can actually store, we showed how we could store the blast off effects down here. The others will store up in here. So you can take these little pieces, oh, and I didn't really show this off either, but this guy can come up like this, and then you can attach these here. And I kind of feel like that's why they gave you 2. I feel like these are much better scale for this little guy than they are for Optimus's blaster. But mine are all bent and warped. They just, I don't know. Because they're smaller, they kind of don't work that well, in my opinion, very easily to warp. But you can see that there's a little peg there and then kind of like these little channels. And these do, while they have, of course, the actual connection peg, there's a second peg here, or peg hole, I should say, on the side. And so you can pop that on there. And then these will kind of fit in the little channels. And that stores there. The other one, of course, will store in the same place on the other side. You can store the axe up here in a very similar fashion. It has a hole on the side there, so you peg this in, and that kind of sits in the little channels there. And then you can take the gun, and you can see that there's like a little bar here, and that's for this little spot right here. And so you just peg that on there. And there you go. You can store all of Prime's accessories in the trailer. Close that all up. And still fit gears inside if you want. I think that's so cool. So, really great trailer. Nice size. Really does a lot of features. You can store pretty much all the accessories between the sides of the trailer and then the little bucket down here. I love how well that little bucket is hidden. I think that's such a cool little feature. Paint looks great. Autobot symbol, nice and sharp. Of course, there is one on both sides. And yeah, it's a great trailer. Okay, I promise we're getting to the transformation, but there's one little feature with Roller that I absolutely forgot to show off, and I have to show it off. They specifically call out in the instructions that you can fit little Titan Master partners in here. And they do fit perfectly, and you could fit 4 of them in here. And that's, I don't know why they tailored this to a feature or like a play pattern that isn't really around a lot anymore, but I kind of love it. And they fit really perfectly, and you can fit 4 of them. So I had to show that off. I could not forget to show that off, because when I saw it in the instructions, I was like, okay. And then I had to go find a Titan Master, because I, don't have many of them around these days. But I was able to find one, and there we go. All right, so finally getting into the transformation for this guy. Not necessarily as complicated as you might think. I think after you do it a couple times, it should be pretty easy to remember. I will say there were a couple of spots, though, that were a little difficult. I'll point them out as we go. But you're going to start by opening up the forearms, just like we did when we wanted to equip the Energon Axe. Make sure that those fingers are tucked in as tight as possible. And then just rotate that back inside and close it up. Do the same thing over on this side. Rotate in and close it up. Then you're going to spin at the bicep 180 degrees. And then you're going to fold this up as tight as it can, and it makes a really nice, tight, compact arm there, which is really cool. So once again, spin 180 and then rotate that up just like that. Then we're going to come around to the back. We are going to lift up this little panel like this. These are going to kind of flip out to the side. You're going to see this little panel right here. You're going to want to flip this up like this and have that kind of hang out in the armpit. You can also just kind of bring the arms up like this for now, just to get them out of the way. So flip these little panels up. Come back around to here. This has been flipped out like so. This is going to kind of unpeg from the back and kind of hang out here. And then you can take this big blue piece and pop this all the way down in between the legs like that. So kind of straighten out his legs just for now. So this is kind of hanging out, floating here like this. Now you're going to rotate this middle section. So this and this will stay the same. I mean, you can kind of do it however you want. You can kind of rotate this whole thing around at the waist and then just rotate this top section back around. But essentially, these will stay where they were, and this middle section will rotate around, which is kind of cool. So this part is a little difficult. You want to kind of bring this piece down, but I find it gets really tight, and it almost looks like it's not going to be able to rotate all the way around. You're also going to want to fold the ears like a little forward, like maybe at a 45-degree angle, and then kind of bring this around and pop this down. And this is where it gets stuck for me. It's just, there's not a great place to push. You have to get this to go down, but it kind of doesn't want to all the way. So I'll probably do it off camera because I'm afraid to break something. But eventually you have to swivel this all the way around, and it's just the clearance is a little weird. And I don't want to grasp onto this and break it. So it can be a little difficult. This isn't necessarily supposed to move yet, but you have to get this to go all the way around and make sure the head is in the right channel. I'll have to take care of it and come back. All right, I was finally able to get it to rotate around so that this is flush, but it's just that because these are all right angles, getting this to kind of scrape past that last part, it's a little, I appreciate how seamless it is and flush when it's done, but it is a little difficult to get that last little kick through. And you can see how the ears kind of have to be at a 45, because if they're straight down, they won't fit in that space, and the directions don't really talk about it at all, which is weird. Anyway, once the head's in there, we're good. This will flip up like that. These pieces actually rotate in. You can see how there's kind of a 2 swivel piece, so this will kind of come in like this and just hang out there, and it's kind of perfectly beveled to rest against the pin piece there, which I think is kind of cool. So we'll bring this in, and this just kind of collapses in like this, and then these will just hang out once we get them together. So there you go. So that comes in like that. Then we are going to kind of, you have all this stuff hanging off here on the front. Make sure this is lined up and kind of bring this up just to get some play with that. But at this point, you're going to flip this panel back like this. Then you're going to bring, you kind of have to unhook the arms. They kind of have like a unclick sound. And then you'll bring it down, and then this tab here will tab into this piece that we just flipped down. I hate the smokestack so much. So this will, come on, find the tab. Why is this not doing this right? There we go. I feel like that's not right. Oh, you know why? Because I don't have this. Okay, so there's 2 pins here. You have to kind of straighten that out. So I didn't have that straightened out. That's the problem. There we go. Now that pegs in. Then you kind of bring this in, and this will peg in like that. This, you want to actually put this flap back down, and I know you might be thinking that seems wrong, but you can kind of see how there's like a little bevel right there, and that's for like the little bit of this curved peg to rest in against. So this kind of comes in and rests against that, and it kind of keeps it nice and like keeps it from sinking in too much. So you're going to want to push this in, and then you're going to want to bring this in, and then that just kind of sits there, and hopefully your smokestack isn't going absolutely crazy on you. At this point, you will kind of bring this, so you can see how there's kind of another double jointed system there. So you're going to bring this in. This is actually going to pop down the front little grill here. And then you're going to extend out this other piece of the grill. And then you're going to kind of bring this up, you know, into place. And then this is going to fold up and fill in that space, which I actually thought was really cool. Then you're going to take this little flap here, and this is going to fold out, and then this whole section is going to come up here, and again, it's on a double jointed piece here, so make sure that's all straight, and then this is going to come up and fill in this space here, and that should all peg in very nicely. Now you can see on mine, I don't know if it's like this for anybody else's, but this piece feels kind of stretched out, and I don't really know why. But this actually like popped out the first time on mine. So it pops right back in. But just in case you're having an issue, I don't know why they're kind of stretched out. So flip that out, bring this down on the double pin system, and then pop that all together. And we have a cab, or the beginnings, a mostly done cab. So again, seems kind of complicated, but honestly, it's not too bad once you do it once or twice. It's not as bad as like some of the crazy masterpieces, so I was happy that it wasn't that ridiculously complicated. This next part, I think, though, is actually really, really cool. So you're going to kind of unhook this, and this is going to come back. This little tab will fold down. You can see how it has these 2 little tabs on the side. They will actually peg in to these, so you kind of have to like fold these out the tiniest little bit, so that way this can come down, and then this will connect on right there. So there we go. Next, we are going to take these panels here on the front of the legs and actually pop them off, and they will come all the way around. You can see that there's a tab right there, and that's going to tab in right there. So again, have the kind of double hinge to bring that in and peg that against the side of the leg. So peg that in. Then there's the tiniest little piece here on the inside of the foot that you will flip out right there. And then there's another one over here on this side that you will flip out. And that's so that the legs can connect together. I think it's so neat how they hid the connector in the foot just to keep everything so streamlined. I thought that was really cool. Then you're just going to fold the foot down now that that space is open. And then this is the part that's misassembled. So when I bring this down, this like blue lip should be on the top, and then this should be over here, and this one should be over here. Again, it's not hurting anything. It's not stopping anything. It just doesn't look 100% aesthetically pleasing. So it is a bummer, and if you feel strongly enough to try to pop the pins out, by all means. But I do not feel comfortable enough to do that without breaking it, so I'll just live with it. But yeah, unfortunately, they should be like that, and this one should be like that. But then you can connect the legs together. Then we're going to take these little pieces here, and you can see that there are these big tabs. They are going to tab into these parts here on the back. So you can kind of lift this back up a little bit, and then these will come in and tab onto the back of the thighs. And then these little connectors right here will tab in there and there. So you can kind of bring this up. You might have to push past a little bit, but eventually that will connect in. And that's pretty strong connection there. And then this part I actually think is the coolest. So you're going to grab this part right here. This is going to flip down. And you can kind of see how there's like a little channel for this piece. So when you're putting it back, it kind of like fits into that channel and hides. It's really well done. So this, you get to about here. You're going to spin this 180 degrees. And then this tab here is going to tab in under there. And it's this tab here is going to tab in right there. And it just kind of fills out the side of the cab a little bit more. And I just think that looks really cool. I think that's so cool. Then you're going to take this section and just flip the wheel around. So cool. Just really, really neatly engineered. I think it's kind of silly, but that might be my favorite part. I don't know why. It just seems like the coolest little bit of engineering to hide it so perfectly in the legs and then just have it revolve around and boom, there you go. And there is your cab mode for 86 Optimus Prime. I think this looks pretty great. I mean, there are a couple spots where I feel like, okay, maybe this isn't holding down as much as it should, or, you know, there's a little bit of a gap there. Again, it could be mine, could be a QC thing, I could be doing something wrong. But just look at how clean this looks underneath. Like, all that looks really sharp. For the most part, this looks really good on all sides. The cab itself, I still wish this would stop moving around on me, but again, the painted windows are so nice. I'm so glad they didn't try to do them with translucent plastic. Just all in all, this looks great. It rolls well. I really like it. If you want, you can store the gun. So this piece here just kind of pops into this little spot right there. So if you want the gun to hang out on the back, you can. But why would you do that when we have something so much cooler to attach? Boom! There is the trailer. It looks great. I love it. Really nicely done. Rolls well. Looks sharp. You can spin around, no problem. So cool. And I didn't show this off earlier, but of course, Roller can also drive the trailer around as well, which we might need him to do when we get our effect pieces here. So they attach very simply. Pop this on here and pop this on here to put these together. And then there's really obvious little spots right underneath here where we just peg this in. I'm sure, do I have this backwards? I might. No, this has to be right. I can never attach these correctly the first time. I don't know why. No, this has to be... Hold on. I did this earlier and I didn't have trouble. There we go. Okay. There we go. I just had the wrong angle or whatever I was trying to attach it at. So pop this on there. And you can kind of see, like, it makes sense how there's kind of like the angle it goes around. But there we go. He is blasting off. Here, we'll get Roller out of the way so he can kind of have the trailer connected and then be like, nope, it's clobbering time. Boom. Blast off there. Transform midair. Start kicking some butt. I just think that's so cool. It's just a fun little thing that they did to include these effect pieces. It's so simple, but it works really well. And then you can pop these off. And you can come back over here to the trailer and flip this down. And then just boom. Store them right in there. Close that up. Oh, come on now. Pop it closed, and there you go. Now you have pretty much everything stored in the trailer, all the effect pieces, you know, the gun, the axe, everything. Roller, it can all fit in there, completely self-contained. No pieces to keep off to the side or anything. So really, really cool. I think this came out great. And then one last side-by-side here with Earthrise Prime. Again, you can see the trailer is a lot smaller. If we kind of put them next to each other, starting at about, I know this optical illusion makes it seem like he's further ahead, but they are about there. So there's probably like that much extra trailer if we're seeing that there. I also kind of want to take the trailers off and then just show you the two cabs next to each other, because honestly the difference in cab size is not ridiculously different, whereas like in robot mode it kind of felt like it was, but kind of putting the cabs next to each other, you know, he compacts pretty well, and there's only maybe like half an inch to an inch tops difference in the length, and honestly I would say like half an inch in terms of height. Now obviously this is kind of a bigger red block, whereas here you see a lot more of the wheels, but again, I still think this is a fun toy. It lasted us for a good long time. I do think this is better, but, you know, I want to give this guy his flowers because he was a good toy and he lasted a while. He hadn't been replaced, really. I will say I do like the Autobot symbol here on his better. I like that outline. Doing it here in the white, it looks fine and probably more accurate to the show, but I do like the look of that a little bit better, so just wanted to kind of do a little side-by-side comparison with these two here. Honestly, he's pretty great. I really don't have too much to complain about. I mean, yes, personally, mine has a few QC issues. The one smokestack over here is really loose, but it's tolerable. The head is a little difficult to transform into the body when going into cab mode. I'm hoping over time that gets a little bit easier, just something to be a little cautious with. You don't want to put too much pressure in the wrong spot and break anything, but I think over time, hopefully, it should get a little bit easier. We'll see. I do have the misassembled heels, which is a bummer, but again, tolerable. It's really just an aesthetic thing. In robot mode, you barely see them. In cab mode, you really don't see them, especially if you have the trailer attached. So I feel like I can live with that. They don't get in the way of anything. They don't impede transformation at all. They're just aesthetically a little goofy looking because they're upside down and they should be switched, but in any case, yeah, I think he looks great. I mean, the paint applications are sharp. The head sculpt's amazing. The colors are nice and bright. Such a clean-looking robot mode. The way they kind of hid all the pieces. It does have a little bit of a backpack, but it's compressed pretty easily. And honestly, you know, the transformation might seem a little challenging or daunting at first, but do it once or twice, and it becomes second nature. It's nowhere near as complicated as a masterpiece or something where you have 100 different little flaps to flip out. He's got like maybe 5 to 6 flaps total. Move them around a little bit, but it's pretty intuitive. It's not that bad. I don't really have anything to complain about. The trailer's great. The effect pieces are fun. He's great. I really, really like this figure quite a bit. But he didn't come with a piano, so 0 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching.